Alright, so welcome back to another episode of MGS5 The Phantom Pain. And starting off, we decided to do a side ops.
Please select
Our first
a
ever
landing
side
zone.
ops.
The side ops list is comprised of problems we need you to resolve. Objectives to be completed, and information gained from the soldiers and prisoners you've extracted. These aren't missions per se, but if you can take care of them when you're free, I'd appreciate it.
So anyways, after landing, eventually, anytime now, today would be nice. Come on. Almost there. There we go.
Be careful down there,
So we proceed to scout the area. Right as I'm about to get a horse, I get spotted. Amazing. And on top of that, Oswald is informing me about Kaz is informing me about D-Dog.
What are you gonna do, boss?
So then I just decide to CQC this retard. And I go for the other guy, then he knifes me. Great. So I slam him down. And at this point, I spent a good chunk of minutes just looking for D-Dog. He's so damn small. So hard to find him. Eventually I did find him. And then I proceeded to stare at him like a retard.
If you neutralize an enemy without killing him, you can then Fulton extract him. Once we've extracted
Yay,
the
now we
soldier,
have D-Dog
we should
in
be
our
able to
arsenal.
convince him to join us. Roger that. We'll pick him up. Attach the Fulton recovery device to him. The chopper
Now
will
anyways,
then pick him
moving
up.
on
Marker placed.
to the actual side ops. The goal is to extract...
We found out there's an English-speaking soldier somewhere in the region. He's a language specialist. His role is to translate information related to the West into Russian. If we can get him to join us, we'll have the upper hand in information warfare. Find this language specialist and extract him.
Okay, so Kaz basically just told what we're supposed to do. We instantly
Analysis
spot him right
complete.
there. Even though he only has like
Analysis
2 backup.
complete.
Эй, ты же говоришь по-английски? Это непросто. Наверное, работает в переводческом отделении, аналитики, западной разведки.
Sun will rise.
Часто
dawn
вижу у
soon.
тебя свет
Your
допоздна.
surroundings will be easier to see, but that goes for the enemy as well.
Я даже
The
думаю,
guard detail in Soviet outpost changes in the morning too.
Будь клёвым
Watch yourself.
выражением. На случай, если я вдруг встречу американца.
Хорошо, повторяй за мной. I spent
I spent
last night
last night
with your girlfriend.
with your girlfriend.
Это было неплохо.
Правда? И что это значит?
Я друг твоего приятеля.
After hearing that really cheesy conversation between them, I decided to make our approach. How do we do this? Do we go loud? Do we go stealth?
Следующий раз ты должен научить меня еще чему-нибудь.
Well,
That Soviet soldier in the Green Beret is speaking English. Must be a language specialist. With him on our side, we'd be capable of Russian interpretation support. Try and extract him.
as you can clearly see, all 3 of them are all separate. Makes them really easy to take out. And this will be our first victim, as long as he doesn't turn around. He's gone. Now it's time for the main target. If Snake moves faster. If he moves faster. And there we go.
Talk.
Spit it out.
Where are the others?
And finally, we have to take out this loser. And now it's time to Fulton everyone, and then we'll finally complete our first ever side ops.
Subject on board. Leave the rest to us.
Extraction failed.
That retard died,
I'm
sadly.
sorry, boss, but the extraction failed. The support unit just isn't skilled enough. If you want to increase the success rate of Fulton extractions in bad weather, you need to improve the support unit.
And that concludes the first side up out of 150 of them.
Extraction arrived at Mother Base.
Hooray.
Unit function added.
Boss, that language specialist you extracted has been very cooperative.
Being added.
Says he's always dreamed of living a free life, like folks in the West. What are the odds, huh? I've gone ahead and placed him in the support unit. His job is Russian interpretation. Now you'll know what Soviet soldiers are saying. You can even interrogate them. Should give you an edge in the mission.
Fire project.
Okay, so now that he's captured, we decided to move on to the next side ups, because there's only 2 side ups available right now. And I decided why the hell
Marker
not?
removed. Marker placed.
You're up. We're changing ships, but we can't go sailing the Suez in a whaler. The Suez Canal. When did they reopen it? Not long after you were attacked. Once they finished sweeping it for mines after the Arab-Israeli conflict.
Say, boss, you seen many animals in the field? Truth is, an environmental NGO has asked us to remove wild animals from combat zones. If you have the time, can you extract some back here? There's a reward in it for us.
We'll travel to the Khyber Pass by road, and then continue on horseback. Afghanistan's main roads are under Soviet control. We'll need to go around them. It'll be all narrow, winding paths through the mountains. We'll do better on horseback. It's a local guerrilla tactic. They use the higher ridges to avoid air recons. Then they charge down the mountains for ambushes. The Soviets still haven't devised a counter-strategy. Our time frame is only half as much as we really need. It'll be a tough march. Better horses than boats. Well, it'll make for good physiotherapy. Take the time to get used to that new arm.
While the Soviets have indicated they are not participating in the Los Angeles Olympics, primarily because the United States has made no attempt to guarantee the safety of the Soviet Union's athletes, the United States is increasingly demonstrating the belief that the issue has nothing to do with its preparations, and in fact this is retaliation for the Western nations' boycott of the previous Moscow Olympics. That concludes today's news.
That's quite some news. The Soviet Union not attending the LA Olympics? Yeah. Andropov's death has changed some things. They're calling it revenge for the Western boycott of the Moscow Olympics. Countries boycotted the Moscow Olympics? Yes. In protest of the Soviet Union's invasion of Afghanistan. Over 50 countries were absent. It's too bad I didn't get to see Yamashita's judo. When the 40th Army crossed the Amu River 4 years ago, détente went right out the window. The U.S. Congress chose not to ratify SALT II, and Reagan's hardline politics won in the presidency in a landslide. According to him, the Soviet Union's an evil empire. The Second Cold War. And there's been no end to regional conflicts and civil wars. Lebanon, the Falklands, Grenada, Iran, Iraq. The story never changes. Egypt and Israel did sign a peace treaty. But then the driving force on the Egyptian side, President Sadat, was assassinated afterward. Apparently his actions were considered a betrayal of his fellow Arabs. Islamic extremists? Yes. fundamentalist extremists have been responsible for some bold acts of terrorism in recent years. We've had extremist students in Iran take U.S. embassy workers hostage, and suicide bombings in Lebanon. Over 300 foreign soldiers stationed there have been killed. Countries have yet to develop an effective means of dealing with terrorism. Afraid of losing their own men, they've pulled their forces out, handing private forces a golden opportunity. Private forces, small armies with no national affiliation, working for the highest bidder. That's right, they got the idea from you. After Mother Base went down, they began spreading to meet the soaring demand. Miller's organization is just one of many PFs now. The entire world is after you, but at the same time, it needs you too. Miller told me about what happened in the Caribbean 9 years ago. You do remember Miller. You'd formed Ocelot. I hear they started calling you Shalashaska in Afghanistan. What's that about? You know the term Sharashka? It's slang for a suspicious, hastily thrown together organization. The
Well, that's not good.
associated with a type of forced labor facility in the Soviet Gulag system. OKB scientists and engineers who'd been convicted of crimes were sent to a Sharashka for forced R&D. The Sharashkas were supervised by Lavrenti Beria of the NKVD, the secret police, under the official name 4th Special Department. Forced research? That's not very different from what we do here. Diamond Dogs.
That's the target.
Everyone here believes in you. Regardless of where they came from or why they're here, they revere you. And they're fighting because it was their choice. And if it wasn't, they'd leave? Who knows? That's our reality here, whether it's real or not. If there's another truth, I don't want to know it. All that matters is that's the concept that's taken shape in their heads. The traces of a group ideology, our superstructure, to put it in Marxist terms. All right. Go on. Right. So anyway, at some point the enemy started calling me Sharashka. This was after the war in Afghanistan broke out. While I was keeping an eye on you in that hospital, I was also heading up interrogations here. The men I broke gave up their comrades and families, everything they wanted to protect them most. No real cause for it. I just let myself get caught up in the old Russian pride. And suddenly I received the honor of becoming Special Interrogation Advisor to the forced labor camps. But the more men I interrogated, the more people saw me as just that, the interrogator. It helped cover my real objective of keeping you safe. You went that far for me? Far enough to keep you alive. I ended up being pretty well known among the Afghan guerrillas. Some of them would have seen me on the battlefield, and that's how I got the second half of the name. Shashka. It's a sword, a type of saber from the Caucasus. Russian dragoons and Cossacks carried them into battle. Now, the Russian Empire had a general by the name of Fyodor Arturovich Keller. His bravery earned him the nickname Russia's Greatest Shashka. Someone must have known about that, because somewhere along the line, Shashka got stuck on the end of Sharashka. The guerrillas were using the name amongst themselves. By the time I got to hearing about it, pronunciation had wound up as Shalashashka. So, half Gulag, half Hero Sword. Is a perfect fit. But you see how rumors and ideas about people can get out of hand fast. Once you create a character and put it out there in public mind, it warps and twists with every baseless rumor. And before you know it, all people see are phantoms. In my case, it works out just fine. I'm plenty used to working under aliases.
Okay, now that all those tapes are finally done, we continue on for our last and final sign up at the moment, which take out some newbie sniper who luckily didn't see us, and we're gonna flank him from behind because that's just what we do. He does have like 2 more guards with him. It doesn't matter. We'll take them all out. Start with this guy first.
You have arrived at your destination.
Oh, that's not good. No problem, we have OP reflex on our side.
Speak.
The map has been updated.
And that wraps up our second side ops. Next time, we're gonna
Leave the rest to us.
do some more missions.
Extraction arrived at Mother
I
Base.
think.